Hi, and welcome back to Theo's Coffee Break podcast for the next episode here in season 4. So, for today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to talk well about somebody. Whether they're in the room or not, it's just always nice to know that somebody's talking well about you. And this can go a lot further than just common courtesy. This could be about professionalism. It's a networking skill. It's an example of how we coexist with our differences. So I kind of touch on this in a few episodes in the past, one of which is in season 1, episode 38, Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself. Knowing how to talk well about somebody does take a level of self-control. And if anybody knows me, in the past, I struggled with that. But here and today, I know how important it is and the value and the benefit behind knowing how to talk well and how to build someone up rather than focus on the things that maybe aren't so irrelevant anymore. When we talk well about somebody, there's no confusion in that. It doesn't trigger any kind of fear. It doesn't make somebody feel insecure. It actually makes them feel more secure, and it actually might brighten up their day. It's getting that compliment that you didn't expect to get. It's hearing that somebody said something that something that you did that you may have forgotten about, and they remembered that really kind thing or that thing that was worth highlighting and bringing to the table to make sure that other people know that you are capable, you are talented, you are intelligent. So in this episode, we will also be touching on a high level to make sure that we're moving the needle forward in a way that this keeps it focused and grounded. But how to be a person of value in conversation and understanding is the key to building strong connections and relationships. These are 2 episodes here in season 4 that I would highly encourage you to listen to, because when we talk well about somebody and we are building them up, there is a level of understanding and acceptance and recognition. So if this is a coffee break you'd like to join in on, I would encourage you to come on over and have a little chat with me while we talk well about talking well about somebody. Okay, I'll see you over there. See you in a minute. All right, turning off the light, turning off the phone, and then coming back to you. So, yeah. In the past episodes, I have mentioned this a lot as well. Something that my grandma and grandpa Vanderveen kind of like beat into me as a kid to make sure that I understood this is that if you have nothing nice to say, especially about other people, then don't say it. And that just carries over into a lot of aspects of life. Whether it's about family, whether it's about coworkers, whether it's about friendships or your spouse, but there is another one that I'm not sure if all of us have quite recognized yet. And And it's the self-talk. It's about you. So I'm going to paint this in the light just for a second and angle it. If you have nothing nice to say about yourself, especially if it's regarding like a conflict or something regarding somebody else, it's probably best to not focus on that. Negativity is something that we as a people should really start to recognize it's not benefiting you. Wallowing in your self-pity, self-victimization, or even choosing to loathe yourself, it doesn't get you anywhere. It keeps you down. And we all know people like that in our lives. And they show up, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to quick say that. There's nothing wrong with that, because I truly think that that's that person's lesson to learn about self-acceptance. I feel like it's a rite of passage in a sense, and it's something that we, as a people growing up, this is something that we have to learn to do for ourselves. That at the end of the day, choosing yourself, if you're being nurturing and choosing to lead that with empathy and understanding, then it's about learning what healthy boundaries look like in your life for you. And so this is important to learn because it carries out into your connections in your life. How you choose to think of yourself and speak of yourself does carry into the workplace. It does carry into the family. It does carry into those connections, your relationships, your friendships. And it's about learning what discernment is for you. And so how you choose to speak about other people when they are not in the room says more about you than them. That's essentially what I'm trying to say here, is that how you choose to speak about other people when they are not in the room says more about you than them. Because building others up and speaking well about them determines the light you paint yourself in, but it also determines the light that you're painting that person in. Sometimes people are just having a bad day, and you catch them off guard. You cannot expect other people to be at 100% if you can't even be at 100% every day yourself. That's just an unrealistic expectation, and that is also an example of punishment. Do not punish others because of your self-pity and your self-loathing and your inability to recognize that there's something you need to work on here. And it's that self-talk. Okay, not trying to be harsh, but I gotta be direct here because I am noticing quite a lot of conversations that are irrelevant and that are really just gossipy. And the gossip isn't getting anybody anywhere. In fact, lately it seems like the gossip is getting people in trouble. The rumor mill is not maybe the best place to take information and try to make it legal. So, yeah, maybe some common sense should come into play here, and that's what this conversation is also going to help people with as well. Recognizing where you're getting your information from as a source is something that you should have learned in college. That when you're citing your essay or your thesis or whatever it is, can you cite where your work came from? And did it actually come from a reliable source? And no, Wikipedia does not count. You got to grab it from something that has actually been established and is legitimate and it is reliable, right? So if we're trying to grab gossip and chatter and stuff from the rumor mill and make it legal or make it something worth something when it's really nothing at all, it's irrelevant, maybe think twice about that. See how this, if you have nothing nice to say, especially about somebody else, don't say it, carries over into a lot of aspects in the life. It goes so much deeper. And if you just take a moment to critically think about this, you're going to recognize, wow, actually, this is a very powerful phrase. This does carry over into education and all the other places that I have talked about. So moving on. Knowing how to talk well about somebody is a skill that will carry you far in the workplace and networking area. Knowing how to highlight other professionals, even if you don't get along with them, will get you more opportunities. Oh man, have I ever come across coworkers that are a nightmare? Have I ever had to work and collaborate with others that I just did not see eye to eye with? But why did I stay? Well, it's because they can get the job done. And their experience and their knowledge And their wisdom in the workplace or in that field of expertise is far more valuable than a personality difference, a clash of egos, so to speak. And when you have that opportunity to speak about them, it is so tempting to throw them under the bus. But I choose to instead think about, did they find a way to move the needle forward? Are they really meeting the quarterly goals? When I'm collaborating with them, is the work that we are putting out productive, efficient, and professional? Something that truly is legit? Absolutely. So then that's what I focus on. The outcome of really the main reason of why we were put together. It was to work together. Okay? You're not going to get along with every single person that you come across in your life. And this is why coexisting with our differences is so important, because oftentimes the reason why the conflict arises, it's strictly coming from ego. And just because that other person on the other side may not be willing to lay down their arms or lay down their sword does not mean that you need to engage with it. And I often found if I just kept the conversation focused, tied it back to why we're working together, and looking past their attitude, over time they actually calmed down. Because then we already, right from the get-go, established this is a professional connection. Sorry, confirmation burp. And then, we made some magic. But it's just also recognizing that we are not all the same. There's another episode in season 1 that I have mentioned in previous episodes as well. Like-minded is not same-minded. We cannot expect everybody to think the same as you. That's just unreal. And that's also another form of punishment. We're not a cult. We are human. And a part of humanity is our authenticity and our individualism and what makes us unique. And that also comes from creativity and allowing people to grow as who they are meant to be and not what you want them to be. Okay? So we're going to touch on these other 2 episodes. We're going to start off with how to be a person of value in conversation first, to just kind of stay on track with the workplace. So this is something that I mentioned in the past about meetings that could have been an email. When we are providing information, it doesn't matter in what way. Let's just think about this in all aspects of life, including yourself. Is it relevant? Okay? We are allowed to grow, okay? If we keep on talking about that person who is like 40 years old and what they did in their teens and their 20s as if it happened yesterday, that's irrelevant information. Now, if we're talking about it in a positive light, where it's building that person up and you're speaking well about them, then it is worth sharing because that is called a fond memory. A little walk down memory lane. Oh my gosh, that's such a cool thing to learn about them. I'm really glad that I heard that because it humanizes them and it helps me feel like I can develop a relationship or an understanding with more depth and context to it. Okay, but if it's tearing them down, then it's irrelevant. And chances are that person has grown up to be a different person since then. Now what you're doing is really damaging and it's causing destruction and it's making that person sound like that they never grew up in the first place. When actually, chances are they've moved on and they forgot about that because that happened then. It didn't happen now. This leads it to number 2, valuable and reliable information, okay? Is the information you're providing actually valuable and reliable? Can you actually prove this? And if so, what is your intentions as to why? Why are you bringing this up? What are your intentions here? Are you intending to cause more confusion, more stress, and to make this even more complicated, so we cannot come to an honest, fair, clear resolve that can be conclusive in ending this ongoing conflict. If that's your intentions, then wow, you are the problem. I've also said this too about decision makers and solution makers. If you're unable to get from point A to point B, and I'm not talking about the end goal. Let's say the end goal is point Z. Oh my God, do we got quite the distance to go? But if we can't even get from point A to point B, we need to start looking at what is standing in our way. Okay? And chances are, I can tell you a couple of those things. It's a clash of egos. It's conflict. It's irrelevant information on the table that is not rooted in truth, that actually is meant to help heal and bring a fair, honest resolve. If that's the case, then there does need to be some changes here about who is sitting at the table and recognizing what is on the table. And it is okay to remove things. Don't throw them away. Don't throw them in the trash can. Just put them to the side and see maybe there's something that we missed and we need to do a bit more of a thorough look through and maybe look a little bit more deeper and do more research. So that is how we're able to deduce what is valuable and reliable here, okay? And then number 3, am I being kind? Am I being transparent? When this is being shared, is it with the intentions of punishing other people in the room, or are we trying to recognize what is a fair consequence? Okay, remember that consequences are fair. All right, we live in a world where there is law and there is rules. And if laws are being broken, if rules are being broken, if boundaries and toes are being cracked on, stepped on, then something does need to be talked about that. Something does need to be done about that because it's causing more stress and confusion and unrest within that situation, that branch, that department. You know, we got to make sure that there is understanding there, that everybody is different and everyone is meant to be there for a reason, okay? So it's not always about getting rid of somebody. Maybe there does need to be a conversation to make sure that there is a common understanding about what is going on here and why you are meant to be here and why this conversation is happening. You know, make sure that the purpose is clear, but that cannot come out of if we're focusing on the wrong things, right? We want to make sure we stay focused. We want to make sure that we're able to move forward, and we want to do that together, all right? A true leader is able to move forward together with their people. That person stands with them. They don't just move ahead of them for no reason. Sometimes the leader does have to move forward without them for a moment to scout out and see what's going on. And then they come on back and then they rally the group and they move forward together, right? Stand as a united front. So the next one, listen. So listening is a sign of respect. Listening is a skill. Oftentimes, you don't need to be the loudest person in the room. Chances are the person who is the loudest in the room is the most obnoxious and the one that everyone just wants to like, dude, okay, we heard you. Can you give some breathing room for other people to speak, okay? So make sure that you know that listening is a sign of respect, but also it allows you to think before you speak. Something that I learned in college about listening is that, a lot of times we want to jump into the conversation, put our 2 cents in, and let people know what we think about it before we forget that thought. And the intention is not to be rude there, but the person on the other side does think you're rude. Why on earth are you being the interrupting cow right now? Moo, right? That's how you're coming across to them, that moo. Why are you interrupting me right now? I was in the middle of saying something. So something that I learned in college is that if you cannot remember what you were going to say, then chances are, dude, you weren't meant to say it in the first place. So you just got saved. Because this does come down to is that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away. Okay? You got to know what kind of conversations you're being a part of. And this isn't Again, you're not being rude. You're not being stuck up. You're just recognizing this is the conversation that is not meant for me. And I am actually meant to walk away. So that is okay. All right. That is okay. And then communication is a key to a healthy and wonderful life. Communication builds trusted bonds and stronger connections in your workplace, family dynamics, relationships, connections, yada, yada, yada. But I want to tie it back to you. Okay? That self-talk, the way you think of yourself, the way you speak of yourself matters so much. I know, as being raised in a Christian family, we were told that was being vain. It's not being vain. It is building a healthy self-esteem. It's building confidence, and it's allowing yourself to know that you are okay being independent and that you're not confused about who you are. You know who you are, and you know how to talk of yourself. So that is another thing that I think contributes to confusion, is we got to break out of this mentality that talking about yourself is not vanity. It's actually a skill that you need to know how to do, especially if you like making money. If you want to get that promotion, if you want to get that job, if you want to get that client, if you want to get that opportunity, you have got to know how to put yourself out there, and you got to know how to speak well of yourself. Because if you want that job, you got to sell it. All right? They're not hiring you because they're trying to fill a role. They're hiring you because they want you for the job. Okay? This is where there is a difference between being picked from the pack and being the first choice. And the first choice is always going to be that person that knows how to talk well about themselves and about others. So, leading to the next episode, we're going to go over at a high level. I still encourage you to listen to both of these episodes. Understanding is the key to building strong connections and relationships. How we choose to understand the world and those around us happens within our own understanding of self and our own humanity. Remember, we are human beings, okay? So if we understand ourselves, then we're going to understand others. And if we don't understand others, we can ask questions to get to know them better, okay? But we want to make sure that those questions are within reason, right? You are not entitled to know everything about somebody's life, okay? Everybody has the right to have a level of privacy. And so if you think that you need that person to be living in a glass house and you know everything that's going on day in, day out, you are psychotic. That's right. You're being controlling, you're being oppressive, confirmation burp, and you're being incredibly toxic. Because if that was happening to you, I don't think that you would like that so much. Why are you so obsessed with that person's life? So we got to make sure that we're recognizing if we are experiencing some kind of obsession with somebody else's life. And that raises concern if that is happening and when that is happening, because it goes to show just how much that person lacks originality, that they don't have a life of their own where they have to be obsessed with other people. And we see a lot of this with celebrities, obsessed fans, fangirls, fanboys, right? Confirmation burp. So we need to make sure that we are recognizing what is healthy and what is not, recognizing that boundaries are healthy, privacy is healthy. This is something that makes us more human, because when there is no privacy, that's when it becomes inhumane, it becomes cruel, and it becomes unreasonable. That person, there does need to be some space put between them, some kind of order put in place. And then remember that you create your own reality, so focus on the good, healthy, positive thoughts. I've already talked about this, so I'm going to tie this back to what I was saying before. How you think of yourself and speak of yourself carries over into your life. It carries over into your relationships. It carries over into your career. It carries over into everything. So if you are able to get to that point where you recognize it, that doing the inner work and healing is a benefit for you because it's going to get you more opportunities, it's going to raise your confidence, it's going to help you understand what self-esteem is and what that looks like for you, you're going to do a lot better in life. You're going to go a lot farther in life. And it's just going to really, really amp you up and get you excited about living your life for you authentically, because at that point, you will recognize that the decisions that the decisions that you are making for yourself are the right ones, and you should pursue them. Okay, so before I let you go, I want to just end it with this. Remember, how you choose to communicate is a reflection of how you think and speak of yourself. So I'm asking you today, as a call to action, your CTA, meet yourself with understanding, empathy, and compassion, and just watch how your connections that are already in your life blossom. So thank you for sitting here with me today for today's coffee break. Communication. This is just something that it's an ongoing, continuous learning that often comes from real life experiences. It's not going to always come from that YouTube video. It's not going to always come from that podcast episode or that self-help book. It's literally going to come from the more people you talk to, the more exposure you get in putting yourself out there authentically just as you are, you're going to become a better communicator over time. And if you ever need a reminder, I would encourage you to come on back to Theo's Coffee Break podcast, sit down with me, and let's just listen. Come back and listen to this episode. Listen to it as many times as you need to help you get that confidence to put yourself out there. And know that you are not the only person who is nervous, okay? Everybody gets nervous, but you can do it. Use your words. Okay? Use your words. That's what parents tell their kids. Use your words. So if you want to help me out, feel free to donate to this coffee table. Go on to buymeacoffee.com. Look up Theo's Coffee Break podcast. Please rate this show. 5-star ratings are always the best. Wherever you get your podcasts, I would encourage you to rate the show, and that's free to do. And until next time, I encourage you to be kind. I encourage you to take care of yourself. But remember, no matter who you are, or what you think about me, or what I think about you, you will always be welcome here at our coffee table. All right, I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye for now.